Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Popple along with two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. So, Carl, the last time you and I got together, we talked a little bit about, Saquon Barkley and that holdout. All's well that ends well with the way that whole thing turned out.
Sure. And, the great news about the way it turned out is that they are relatively distraction-free in training camp now. There's not a lot of negative outside noise about what's going on with a contract dispute, which during this time of year is normally the biggest talking point for people if it's not injury, right? So credit both Saquon Barkley and Joe Shane and, getting to a place where he could come in and I can tell you this, just watching him these past 4 practices, he's going to be different, Bob. And I mean in a good way. He's just moving like the player that everyone believed that Barkley is when healthy. He's going to be better than that guy. He's moving differently. I literally stood on the sideline during their first padded practice and just watched him move down the field with just explosion. And I'm like, nobody's going to want to tackle this guy. I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, would I have to make a business decision if the guy's running this fast, that big? And so this is going to be an incredible season to watch Giants football. He's motivated, but he's motivated to do better than he did. And he's also his teammates, like his energy, man, his energy around his teammates, and he energizes everyone. So happy that's out of the way. I think the first step in building off of a playoff season, which you can call successful, is to enter the next season without distraction and then let the football stuff take care of itself. So you put that aside. Joe Shane can now focus on, training camp cuts and all his other things, but they got their players signed and they're in camp. And if we fast forward to camp, there are a few scouting reports, and I got an announcement. Water is wet and Jalen Hyatt is fast.
Standing on the sideline or near the sideline and watching him go, it's like, wow.
Yeah, he can go.
And more importantly, I liked the other day when they had the pads on and they were doing the one-on-ones with the DBs. I like what I saw out of him as far as running routes too.
Yes, I was just getting ready to say that. Coming out, and we did a film breakdown on him and his route running and some of the awareness of where the sticks are and things of that nature. Boy, you can see they got to work with him right away. So that's that. But then there's Paris Campbell, who's fast. And then there's Darius Slayton, who's fast. And then the 14 other water bugs that they got, the under 6 foot club, that they're going to have the
Cole
Giants
Beasley's he's unguardable when he's coming out of the slot, the first couple moves.
Yeah, he's slippery, man. This is going to be an interesting but fun decision that the Giants will have to make. They're going to have to, really look at this wide receiver core because they got a lot. And the fact that they are now in a position to have basically their cup runneth over all the way into the saucer, well, it'll do 2 things, right? As a group, they'll be better. The quarterback will be better. But also, their special teams will be better as a result of the depth that they have across a lot of positions. But, having Dorian Beavers back and looking at him He looks great, and he's a big kid who can move. He stands about 6'4", 6'5", and he's built. So keeping him healthy alongside Bobby Okereke, they're going to have a formidable second level in their defense for the first time in a long time. So that'll make the front four better. And speaking of better, I got a prediction.
Okay, let me hear it.
Azeez Ojulari.
Okay, that's your guy.
If you and your body have come to an agreement, they negotiated this offseason,
To stay healthy.
this dude will have a minimum, write it down, minimum of 15 sacks.
15?
A minimum of 15 sacks.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm looking at this guy and how he's moving in practice and his explosion. And, I don't fanboy because I'm a realistic football
yes,
observer.
you are.
But boy, he had a play. It was a play action pass. Darren Waller had to chip him before he released. So Darren Waller chipped him. And before Darren Waller could release, Azeez was on the quarterback. So he discards the release. Maybe Waller was two steps into his release, and Azeez was there like air. It was unbelievable. So I think, at a minimum, he'll have 15 sacks if he stays healthy.
Wow, 15. That's a big number.
Well, I'm just telling you, he is that type of good when healthy. So that's my one scouting report. My other scouting report is JSM. And, as I was writing my notes down, he had, in their first padded practice, he got baptized in fire. So he had Dexter Lawrence on his head every single play. And I think he went about four or five in a row. And he had some good stuff. Obviously, you're playing against Dexter Lawrence. So it's, to the casual observer, it's not going to look like much. But the thing that I did like about him, his lateral movement, especially going left, he's pretty quick to get out there and turn a corner or get an edge on a three technique, which was very impressive to me. Point of attack, he can hold his ground. He's not moving. He wasn't moving Dexter, but, he didn't get moved in the run game, which was good. But the other scouting report right now where I think he has to work is his lateral movement right. He's quick both ways, or he's mobile both ways. And I don't know, and I have to ask a center, like, is the hand that you snap with that side makes it more difficult to get out? But he snaps, he pulls right, and he gets blown up. His balance is off, right? Going left, he's pretty good at it. Going right, it just wasn't as strong, but he's still as quick. So it's a matter of fundamentals. It's a matter of technique. So that's some observations.
Did you like what you saw? Again, it's limited reps in the one-on-ones and stuff, but it feels like Evan Neal is a little bit more confident.
He's 100% more confident in everything he does. But I think that's a function of him working this offseason with Kayvon and whoever else he was working with, and then getting the technique adjustment. So you can tell he's comfortable in his own skin. He's playing, practicing with more confidence. So this is this offensive line. They hold up. It's going to be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch passing game and running game. I mean, this is a team. It's so odd. They're a fast team now. They've entered the NFL speed competition, man. They got some guys that can flat out fly. But here's the other thing. The beautiful part about the fast guys, they can actually catch.
Yeah.
They can actually
That's an important part.
There's not a lot of balls hitting the ground in practice on deep routes or deep crossing routes. These guys, they get open and they can catch it. Darren Waller is a freak. No news there. Just continue to confirm or validate what everybody thought. Deonte Banks, the trajectory for him is similar. I look at him like I looked at Kayvon Thibodeau last year. He's only going to get better each and every rep, every practice, every game. He's not flashing like the other guy I'm going to talk about, but you could tell fundamentally he's got it. He's not a bum. He's practicing well. He's had some bad plays that people want to highlight, but those are going to happen.
Happens in camp when you have that many reps.
Yeah, and that's what they're supposed to happen in camp, to be honest with you. But he's going to be on the same trajectory as Kayvon Thibodeau last year, where you just see them progressively get better and better and better and better. And then his future bookend, Trey Hawkins. He's a hawk.
And he's hawking.
He's a ball hawk. And I think the advantage in what we've seen so far from Trey Hawkins is that his Old Dominion defense did a lot of the things that Wink does. They blitz and they man, they blitz and they man. And he's long, man. So in a world that it could happen this year, this season, it ain't gonna happen on day one, but you could theoretically or literally see the two rookies at corner and Adoree Jackson inside when needed. Those two rookies are going to play this year, and they may have some configurations where they're the outside guy and Adoree Jackson is the inside guy. And
right, because it gives Wink versatility now.
Sure.
It gives him much more. He can be more versatile because he likes to be versatile in what he does. He can mix things up even more so now. If you have Ojulari and Thibodeau healthy, and Dexter and Leonard Williams healthy, and Okereke is the centerpiece in the middle linebacking position healthy, well, now all of a sudden, and you got the corners, now you can do a few more things.
Right, and I think people get so hung up on who's the number one, number two, number three corner, or number one, number two, number three wide receiver. The reality in football now is anybody could be the number one. The key is being on the field, because your number one receiver can line up in the slot, and that makes the outside guy number one. And that's where the flexibility comes with Wink. If an offense tries to create a matchup problem, he can take and move Adoree wherever he wants, knowing that the other kids can hold up on the outside. And then there's still guys that were here last year that are competing at the cornerback position. Cordell Flott, there's talent.
There's more talent on this team. They're going to actually have to, barring some severe injuries in the preseason and training camp, for the first time in a long time, it's going to be hard for them, I think, to get to 53. I mean, there's been a couple of years here in the last 5 or 6 years where when you started really doing the numbers, and even last year, what did the Giants had the second most waiver claims at the end of training camp? They had 6. Last year they had a hard time, getting to 46, going that way, going up.
Yeah.
This year they're going to have to cut some players that are going to be able to play in the league and guys that they're going to hope they could get on the practice squad.
Yeah, that's going to be the key. Is the practice squad flexibility and making sure they can really exploit the rules there, and managing injuries. So, there could be, the dilemma of practice squad, injury reserve, which level of injury reserve or a waiver, right? Because there's a lot of talent on this roster, and just a year ago, we're saying they got to get better here, here, and here. and the games haven't started, but I can tell you now, they're a better football team. Does that translate into a better record? We'll find out. But I know for a fact, not just on paper, but in person, they're a better football team. Now that's got to translate into wins and getting where they need to be.
I have a public service announcement, but before I get to that, I want to remind our fans out there that BetOnline is your number one source for all betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, matchup reports, boxing, golf, baseball, a whole lot more. Fastest, easiest way to place your wagers. Casino and card games available as well, right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device. Sign up and get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. So here's my public service announcement because, every day at practice, that the practices that are open, there are fans, there are people that are involved in different chat rooms. There's super fans that like to post stuff, and people are making decisions about who should be the starting slot corner already, and this guy looks good and this guy hasn't looked good, and so on and so forth. My public service announcement is this: they've only had one padded practice as of this recording, and they're going against each other. For me, a real tell is going to be how they do in the joint practices next week against the Lions. Because as you know, and I know, I don't know, maybe it was 2015. Probably was 2015. I think it was Coughlin's last year here. Remember the Giants went and they had joint practices with the Bengals.
Yep.
And at the time, Marvin Lewis and the Bengals, they had Andy Dalton, they had A.J. Brown. They had really good defensive line. They were a perennial playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And the Giants, we were talking about all the good things we had seen in camp. And they basically got smoked in every practice.
Yeah.
They got smoked in every practice. So it'll be interesting to see because the Lions are a team on the rise, right?
And they're going to compete. They're going to compete in practice. That's the one thing. It won't be a country club walkthrough for the Giants when they get to Detroit.
Right. And you know this better than anybody. When you're practicing against your own team every day, you know what the calls are on the other side of the ball. You know how they kind of want to attack you. They know how you want to attack them offensively. You know the physical movements. If you're doing reps and one-on-ones every day against the same guys, eventually you got to get a feel for, all right, when he does this is when he's coming out of his break. Next week you got all unknown.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a intuition on the guys. So I think next week is going to be. It's not like make or break or anything, but I think we'll have a better feel for where some of these guys that are catching our eyes kind of really stack up.
Well, it's the next progression, right? And thankfully it's happening in the second week of training camp because now they get to get better. And they haven't settled into 2 weeks of camp of their own guys. They got a week under their belt. Now they're on the road to go look at some different talent. So this should help the young players get even better at what they do. And even the second year developments of the Evan Neals of the world, this now gives them a chance to test it at the next level. So I think the timing of this is perfect given where they are as a team in terms of their development. Like get them in there now so that they can now take the next step. The next test before it's late in camp.
Yeah, and especially even too for the ones, right? Because the way most of these teams now handle preseason games, it varies a lot where some teams never play their starters at all. Some teams play them a little bit. Guys could be nursing an injury, so they're not going to play. So for your frontline guys, your starters, you're not really getting any kind of reps other than against each other. So these joint practices take care of what you might get in a preseason game if you had all the ones going against each other.
Yes, exactly.
So it's valuable reps. So that's my public service announcement. Don't get too crazy either one way or the other about how a guy performs. It's a long camp. It's a process. And, next week will be the first nice test in the first peek into underneath the hood to see,
Mhm.
all right, how do they stacking up against somebody else?
Right.
That's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all I got. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll be in the Motor City next week watching the Giants and Lions practice. We'll get you the latest happenings. For Carl Banks, I'm Bob Papa. You've been watching Believe in Giants.